There comes a moment in every person's life when everything that used to make sense no longer fits. You're standing in the same room, hearing the same voices, scrolling through the same routine, but suddenly it doesn't feel the same. You've outgrown something, you've outgrown someone, and you can't quite explain it yet, but deep down you know it's time for a shift. See, transformation doesn't happen on schedule. It doesn't come because someone else told you to change. It comes in the quiet moments when your soul gets tired of surviving and starts craving meaning. It shows up when the excuses you've used for years don't sound convincing anymore, and that's when this message finds you. Not a second before. You'll see this when you're ready to break the pattern, not because you've mastered the pain, but because you're finally tired of repeating it. You've done the denial, you've played small to keep others comfortable. You've tolerated jobs, habits, relationships that didn't respect your worth. And maybe you convinced yourself that comfort was the goal, but real comfort doesn't come from hiding. It comes from growth. It comes from risk. It comes from honoring the part of you that wants more purpose, more peace, more alignment. This is your turning point, not because I said so, but because something inside you is stirring. That's not coincidence. That's truth waking up. You don't need permission to evolve. You don't need validation to rise. You just need the courage to stop betraying yourself. So if you're watching this, you're ready. Ready to make peace with the past without letting it define you. Ready to rewrite the script even if your voice shakes. Ready to become who you were always meant to be. Because growth, it's not about becoming someone else. It's about unbecoming the lies, the limb. It's the labels that were never yours in the first place. You're not broken. You're breaking through. And the moment you stop running from change, it will meet you where you are. You'll see this when you're ready. And now, you're ready. True change doesn't happen because someone told you it's time. It doesn't come from motivational quotes or even from outside pressure. Real transformation begins the moment you look at your life and realize you've been repeating the same cycle. Same choices, same excuses, same pain. And you're just tired. Tired of pretending things are fine. Tired of convincing yourself that this is good enough. Tired of settling for survival when you know you were built for more. And it's in that exhaustion, that moment of truth, where everything begins to shift. That's when change becomes not only possible but necessary. You'll never change just because you know you should. You'll change when the cost of staying the same finally outweighs the fear of moving forward. When you recognize that the discomfort of growth is far more valuable than the numbness of comfort. Patterns don't break on their own. They end when you stop feeding them, and you stop feeding them when you get honest with yourself. Honest about what's draining you, honest about the habits that are keeping you small, honest about the roles you've played just to be accepted by people who never really saw you. That level of self-awareness only comes when you're ready to see it. You could have watched this message a year ago and it might have meant nothing. But now, in this moment, it hits differently. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. That's timing. Life has a way of revealing truth only when you're strong enough to handle it. So if this resonates now, it means you're ready. Not fully healed, not perfectly confident, but ready enough to start. Ready enough to walk away from the version of you that kept shrinking just to keep the peace. Ready to choose yourself even if it means walking alone for a while. And that's what real change looks like. Not a dramatic announcement or sudden transformation, but a quiet, personal decision to no longer live on autopilot. A decision to stop surviving and start living. The world doesn't change when you're ready. You change when you're ready. And when you are, everything you need begins to show up. Not because it wasn't there before, but because now, finally, you can see it. Growth is never comfortable, and it's not supposed to be. We're conditioned to cling to the familiar, even if the familiar is slowly draining us. The job that pays just enough but leaves us empty. The relationship that looks good on the outside but erodes our spirit. The habits that keep us stuck, the beliefs that keep us small. We convince ourselves that as long as we're stable, we're okay. But stability without purpose is a quiet prison. And at some point, you wake up and realize you've been choosing safety over truth. That's when the discomfort sets in, not because something is wrong with your life, but because something inside of you is ready to grow beyond it. Letting go of comfort means disrupting your own patterns. It means no longer numbing the ache with distraction. It means being willing to sit with your restlessness, to listen to the part of you that knows this version of your life isn't the final chapter. And most importantly, it means learning to trust yourself again. You don't need everyone's approval to rise. You don't need to wait until the timing is perfect or until you have all the answers. You just need to stop waiting for the world to confirm your worth. That confirmation will never come. It's not the world's job to validate your transformation. It's yours. Change also means leaving behind the identity you've built around staying small. Maybe you've always been the one who plays it safe, who avoids risk, who makes sure not to ruffle any feathers. Maybe you've spent years hiding your voice to keep others comfortable, but growth asks you to be uncomfortable. It asks you to step out, to speak up, to show up even if your hands are shaking. It asks you to disappoint others before you disappoint yourself again. Because the truth is, if you keep choosing comfort over growth, you're not just pausing your evolution. You're betraying your potential. Validation is a dangerous addiction. We chase it because it gives us short-term relief from self-doubt. But in the long run, it keeps us trapped in cycles of pretending to be okay, pretending to be who they want, pretending that the life you've built around other people's expectations is enough. But real freedom, the kind that sticks, comes from owning your truth even when no one claps for it. You have to be willing to grow in silence, to walk away without applause, to bet on yourself when no one else is watching. Growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens when no one is around, when you choose the hard thing over the easy one, when you rise from your own ashes, when you decide that being real is more important than being liked. That's when everything changes. That's when you become unstoppable. Transformation is not about becoming someone new. It's about stripping away everything you never truly were. Over the years, you've picked up beliefs that weren't yours. You were told who you should be, how you should act, what dreams were acceptable, and which ones were too much. Somewhere along the way, you began shrinking yourself to fit into molds that never belonged to you. You wore masks to survive, adopted identities to belong, and built walls to stay safe. But deep down, you've always known that the real you was still there waiting. The truth is, the most powerful version of you isn't someone you have to create. It's someone you have to remember. Change doesn't mean becoming a different person. It means returning to your core, the version of you before the fear, before the self-doubt, before the world taught you how to dim your light. And that's why transformation is so uncomfortable, because it's not just about growth. It's about release, releasing the lies, releasing the labels, releasing the weight of everything you thought you had to carry to be enough. The lies sound like you're not smart enough, you're too late. You're too broken, or who do you think you are to want more? These voices don't come from your spirit. They come from your conditioning. And every time you listen to them, you feed a version of yourself that was built out of fear. But every time you challenge them, you give strength to the version of you that's built from truth. The process of transformation is messy, not because you're failing, but because you're shedding. It's not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. This is the work most people avoid, because unbecoming what you're not takes honesty. It takes stillness. It takes the courage to face your reflection and say, that's not who I am anymore. But when you finally let go of who you thought you had to be, something extraordinary happens. You don't just feel lighter, you feel real. You begin to live with clarity, speak with conviction, and walk in a way that doesn't require explanation. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop hiding your light to make others comfortable. That's the beauty of real change. It's not about fixing yourself. It's about freeing yourself. The moment you release what you're not, you make room for who you've always been, and that's when life finally begins to align.